Hello everybody. Today I want to make a kind of review of the game state, the various things we have in the game and how they are working in the current situation at the start of September. I want this to become a regular thing, and I hope to make a video about my vision of the game state every season. But first, let me say a couple of words about my experience in Stalcraft, so you can better understand who I am and whether you should spend your time listening or not. I started playing Stalcraft since the Steam release, and I'm still actively playing this game. I'm a Clan Wars and PvP focused player, so I'm always looking for better gear and more effective ways to play. I achieved 3 gold leagues in last year's events: Marathon, Last X Mass Tree and Inside Out. I've been playing in top-tier clans on EU all this time, so I know a lot about their subdivisions, communities and clan wars as well. So, let's start with the Summer Battle Pass, its system and the changes we got. When the new system launched, it came with 4 groups of tasks that you had to re-roll to get better or easier ones. That design was broken because it was easy to not roll the desired tasks even with premium. They mostly fixed it the next week by introducing a new system where you always have all basic activity quests. However, re-rolls still remain for some reason. Personally, I dislike them. I'd prefer a system where all task types are available from the start, without forcing players into re-rolls. Why keep re-rolls? Maybe to increase the value of premium. Maybe to push players to try different activities. But it's hard to say what the true reason is. Another big problem is time gating. After you finish the first 15 daily tasks, you can't farm Battle Pass levels in any decent amount. Currently, we have 3 weekly quests that give 20 levels. Together with the 15 most valuable daily tasks, that's about 59 levels weekly. On paper it looks fine, but the issue is that not everyone can log in every day. Even though finishing 15 tasks takes only 15 to 20 minutes, players who can only play a couple of days a week fall behind. A better approach might be a weekly cap instead of a daily one. That way players with limited time could still progress fairly. The worst part of the new system is overcharges. This mechanic feels like something straight out of a Chinese mobile game, and I'm fully against it. Why? Because it means the developers are designing the entire season pass, its rewards and levels, assuming that players will buy and use overcharges. And it's not just my opinion. On the latest English Ziv stream, he said that they designed the Battle Pass with the usage of overcharges in mind. For example, I buy the season pass every season, $5 per month, and also premium, $5 per month. That's $10 per month, not counting cosmetics or packs. If I don't have much time to play, I might miss rewards like the level 1000 skin just because of overcharges. If you already paid for a season pass, why should rewards be locked behind additional purchases? A better design would make overcharges work as time skippers, not pay for levels. For example, one overcharger could double your quest progress. If you complete 8 quests, it counts as 16. That would speed up farming without breaking progression for players who don't use them. Before the new system was released, your play loop looked like a straight line with just one task: farm more Battle Pass levels. Nothing else. Just that. Now the play loop looks different. Farm 15 Battle Pass tasks, then decide what else to do. And that's only if you're not planning to play a lot that day. If you go out to loot in a mission or join clan wars, you won't even think about those 15 tasks. They'll be completed naturally while you're doing other activities. Because of this, more players are exploring different activities in the open world. Completing 15 tasks doesn't take much of your playtime. So if you want to play for more than 30 minutes, you're more likely to focus on the things you actually want to do in Stalcraft rather than grinding Battle Pass tasks. The old system pushed everyone into a boring, repetitive farm. You rarely saw players doing anything else. After this rework, although painful because many farming methods died, the game started to feel much less repetitive and less focused on the battle pass. Before, I used to calculate how many levels I'd gain while doing any activity. Now I just think about what I want to do, and I don't care about the battle pass anymore. For me, that's a good change. Overall, the new system has some upsides. It pushes players into more diverse activities and breaks the old repetitive farming loop. But it also feels unpolished, greedy, and restrictive. Until those issues are fixed, it's hard to see this as a good rework. The next thing I want to talk about is the summer event. We had one of the most interesting events last season. In my personal tier list, I'd put it in second place. I liked the marathon event more because it was PvP oriented and more engaging for me in terms of gameplay. But I also played Helldivers, and this event felt like a slightly worse clone of that game, though still fun for 20 to 30 runs. For the first 20 to 30 runs, I definitely had fun. After that, it started to feel more like a grind, and I pushed myself just to reach level 30 in each stratagem branch before stopping. When I reached extreme difficulty, it felt like the devs hadn't even tested it. From the very start, there were snipers with Gauss rifles who could shoot you no matter what armor you were wearing. Heavy, super heavy, even with polyhedron it didn't matter. Their aim speed was instant. Once they locked onto you, even if you hid behind a wall, a box, or lay down in a pit, the moment you peeked again you were instantly dead. The problem was that even if you played carefully and concentrated, you might not notice one had spawned behind you, or with all the effects on the screen you couldn't see the glow from their sights. No build or item could save you from a one-shot. That state lasted for a few days, maybe a week, until they fixed it. One thing I really liked was how they prepared us for this event. Expo actually put effort into building lore around it, and it even affected us outside the event. That was cool. They could definitely have put more hours into making it clearer and better polished, but for a first attempt I think it was good. However, the rewards were so high that they made almost all open-world activities useless compared to the amount of money and resources you could get from the event. That was a huge problem. People farmed like crazy, and inflation is still noticeable even now. Prices skyrocketed. Artifacts became 30 to 40% more expensive. To counter this, they held an auction with some rare items to extract currency. It helped, but it didn't fully solve the problem. I honestly don't know why they made the rewards so good. Maybe it was a mistake, or maybe they thought the event was boring and nobody would play it otherwise. But if it's boring, why push players to play it in the first place? While the event was fully PvE focused and no PvP was really intended, I saw experienced players chasing newbies and killing them with stratagems, especially on the highest difficulty. My team usually avoided those attacks or successfully fought back, so I wasn't affected, but it was still sad to see new players just die in frustration. Expo made some announcements about incoming penalties for these kinds of players, but it didn't really stop them. After the event ended, we waited a long time for punishments to be handed out. At some point, we thought there wouldn't be any at all, but about a month later the team killers finally lost a decent amount of in-game currency. That felt like a fair punishment to me, but I hope for faster reactions in the future. It's hard to imagine how much gameplay was ruined for players, and if Expo had acted sooner, they could have reduced that damage. Overall, the event was interesting, and they clearly put a lot of effort into making it. But as usual, there were some unpolished parts. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Networking problem. At the last week of event, they released some code which broke our servers on EU. And from time to time I and a lot of other stalkers and bandits, which I know, are expecting this thing. People are starting to move with jumps, or their movement speed starts to be different while they are running, that makes tracking too hard. You simply as human can't predict their movements because they don't have expected speed or they are jumping on your screen. It's hard to track, sometimes hitbox is in other place outside of model. At some point all that was so broken that I had situation on Colosseum when 4 guys were trying to kill me together, and I killed them one by one, and it were players who play good. I know every one of them. All that is going in fights in open world, session battles and duels. I saw threads in Discord, on Expo forum about that. A lot of guys are complaining. We even got a response from Ziv that we should create a tickets when servers are not working correctly. But there is a problem with that. You should record a gameplay which clearly explain what is not working fine, what is hard thing to do. Because some problems are not clear on video and you should slow it or collect some special moments. But please guys, record your gameplay and create tickets on Expo support website. So we will get this terrible thing fixed. I think we are paying enough money to get good servers and they are not cost some unrealistic money to pay for them. I'm not sure about C, but U and NA are paying enough to get decent servers. I see a huge problem there and I hope it will get more attention. We had close problem on Clan Wars servers. I think it was 16 to 18 months ago. That time we as one of top clans group up with other strong clans and we got decent attention to this problem and it got fixed in week or 2. But this time it's tricky problem, it doesn't affect you whole time. I think there's some broken tunnel maybe. It definitely appears more on Warsaw Roxy tunnels and on game U3 and 4. The latest container rework, along with the overall strengthening of speed builds, has also contributed to this problem. I'm not an expert in networking, so it's hard for me to say exact reason. But I'm a good PvP player and I clearly see when it happens, and other well-known strong players says same as me. We saw the new Stalcraft birthday system, which I think is fine and mostly balanced, but there was a quest for 150 packs. I had delivered only 1 pack for whole year. And that's not because I'm not an active player. There's simply no reason for me to do that activity at all. It's outdated, the rewards are bad, and the gameplay is just boring for me. Honestly. I don't understand the players who still doing deliveries. It was quite painful to complete. I delivered them in both the south and north, and it took me about a week to finish. Every time I delivered a pack, I thought about how old and poorly designed this mechanic feels. They could easily redesign it into one long delivery run with NPC ambushes along the way or tasks where you deliver supplies to NPCs at outposts under attack by other NPCs. That would at least make it more interesting. There are so many variations they could use to rework this mechanic. At the very least, they could improve the rewards. That said, the overall new system seems fair. Players shouldn't get rewards just for their account registration date, and new players were able to benefit more from it. So overall, I see it as a mostly positive change. Now let's speak about the balance. So we got huge update with containers, big changes to artifacts, and meta is not really clear for us. The major thing to mention is time to kill change with new build system, which extended this time a little bit. You can get more survivability or speed from your artifacts and builds. So average time to kill rised. But they already said that it will be shortened again in future when they add new gun module system. As I understand, that will be some sort of mechanic for guns which you could see on Deadman Marathon or on arena events. They throw some weird screenshot with beta attachment stats while there were first dungeon OTS. Doesn't look really interesting for me, because stats can change a lot. We also don't know how hard will be to get the reward, and I don't like that idea overall. I like concept of changing stats of weapons through some barrel extensions, different mags and scopes. But I don't like the concept where attachment like mag or handle can give you damage per shot. It's simply weird that you can do change to damage stats with attachments which are not affecting bullet speed or some kind of stuff. It's mechanically strange. Still, it not all updates which we are waiting for. Zubzalina, the first man on the earth who read 2 full books about game design, work on new artifact rebalance. And he want to make games simpler and remove separate healing mechanics, heal effectiveness, health regeneration, and do something with med kit system. The reasoning for it were like, it's hard for new players to learn new things. And it's hard for them to understand that you need to control in battle that you are under med kit healing whole time. That's an insane thing to say in my mind. Every season we have some new mechanic in the game. They release new artifacts again 3 times in row. We have new much complex system for containers. Artifacts builds now are so complicated, so it's hard even for the guys from top tier clans who played for 3+ years understand what to put into them and how to achieve desired effect. You just don't really know what the best, because to get best build which you can have you should put tens of hours into exploring various combinations of builds and different gameplay strategies, and it's all with knowledge of essentials of artifacts world. Like that's we have top tier arts, mid tier, low tier, counter artifacts, containers effectiveness, and a lot of additional weird artifacts which you can use to make a build or use it without counter artifact like Rubik, Spiral, Winter artifacts, and etc. God thanks that they cut off boosts which were replacing counter artifacts, so we will not see 5 meta artifacts in Hive without counter artifact. And you need 2 to 3 builds for different situations which you will use. For example, I have separate build for open world where I have some additional weight and speed for farming. I have pure speed build for situations where I need to be fast. I have combat build with polyhedron for sniper duels and combat build for close quarters PvP. That's all sound quite complex and hard thing, right? Also with new container update they kinda ruined suits balance. And while they give additional bullet protection to combo suits, they forgot about some combat suits like Mule and modified exoskeleton. So balance there is not perfect and there are suits which require buff. In terms of weapon balance, there are couple of strange moments which they should definitely polish, and one huge problem, jackhammer. Almost every gun is playable even on clan wars. There are only couple of underbuffed guns like EBR for example. And I think the biggest problem is from concept of shotguns which they released. We have new shiny shotgun from Battle Pass, Jackhammer. And it's total nightmare. It's an imber weapon on any short distance. It's just deleting every armor in 2 heads. And if you are bad, you can outperform anything in 3 body shots. It have insane stats, 0.25 time to kill for +15 SBA tank with 128 vitality into head and 0.38 for body for distance under 6 meters. That shouldn't be in the game at all. It's just broken. I definitely don't know what Zubzalina smoke when he balanced this thing. There no any competitive weapons which can do same numbers. Even Deagle with 0.45 for headshots looking extremely weak there. And this gun still does better for distance under 10 meters compared to submachine guns which should be strong on these kind of distance. I heard that recoil is hard. But I see that good players can deal with that easily. As I understand, all PvP shotguns will be around of this stats. So it will be tough time when they will be in meta if Zubzalina will not give them decent time to balance. It probably will kill any other short distance guns like submachine guns. We also still have EBR underbuffed for 1 year straight. Nothing can revive this gun. It has less DPS than VSS, less controllable, less comfort. So about new attachments. I don't really getting the idea of so expensive attachments like it with new arsenal attachments and dystonia for example. And also it's hard for me to understand the need of so different stats on handles. I liked old concept where you had 3 handles with amount of recoil compensation and aiming speed which were fulfilling my needs perfectly. I was sure which one I should put on which gun. But right now it's kinda complicated and you can't test while you don't have some of the handles because you don't have alternative in Barter. So they are too pricey and you can't really understand do you need them or not, and some of them are limited to get. Like Dystonia. Why should you be able to get attachment only on one time in year event? That's weird. If we will remove new shotgun from this theme, balance of weapons will be in good state overall. Almost everything is playable even on Clan Wars. Artifacts on other hand in my mind require a lot, especially because situation with speed builds, stopping power and servers. It's hard thing to balance. Because you should keep reasonable balance between speed, survivability, healing and stopping power. Also you should be aware about problems with servers and how they work. So now I can say I see huge problems with speed builds with healing stats, stopping power on 7.62 and 5.56 or 5.45 guns, which don't have a lot of round per minutes, is weak as hell. They almost doesn't stop armors without stability. What to say about speed builds with stability or armors which have stability? You don't really feel impact of your hits, players are just moving almost like nothing is happening. And on other hand we have guns with decent stopping power. That's all just feel weird for me. So I expect a nerf to the jackhammer, another buff for the EBR, some polishing of speed artifact balance, and maybe a stopping power or DPS buff for the underperforming segment of guns with low stopping efficiency. Now I want to talk about the Barter crafting trees and their problems, because they are one of the most important mechanics in player progression in Stalcraft. The biggest issue is the number of different progression paths. You can get gear from Barter, the Session Battles shop, or arsenal upgrades of cases weapons. For me, Barter is the main system new players rely on. You progress from south to north while farming your first gear and upgrading it to higher ranks. Session Battles gear is almost unattainable for new players, same with gear from cases and their upgrades. It costs too much, and progression isn't as clear or easy to follow as Barter progression. Over the last year, Expo hasn't paid enough attention to Barter, most likely because they were focused on Session Battles gear, new case gear, and arsenal updates. But I think the better approach would have been to finish the Barter line completely, keeping it logical and covering a wide variety of playstyles that new players would want to try. And after that, you could move on to advanced mechanics. Now let's review Barter parts separately. Suits are the first thing to check. Honestly, I think this is the most complete part of Barter. It's hard to find missing concepts or roles for armor. And most suits in the game feel diverse and unique. Pistols, on the other hand, are definitely unfinished. There's no clear Glock line, and for some reason it ends on the pernatch. I have no idea how it ended up like this. We even have an automatic New Year Glock in the game. The only reason I can imagine is that Expo wants to keep the New Year Glock as a unique annual reward, or maybe they just haven't come up with a proper replacement yet. Assault rifles also have a couple of unfinished lines. The most obvious is the HKG-3, a mid-range 7.62 rifle that used to have a master version 2 years ago, but was then replaced by the AK-15. In my opinion, the AK-15 isn't really a replacement. It has different stats. Closer comparisons would be the Scar H or HK-417. Many players like the G3 and would prefer to see either a master version or a proper replacement. On the positive side, we recently got the KS-1, which is great. Right now, we have only FN 2000 and KS-1 as NATO options and 4 Soviet rifles, which feels undiverse given how many NATO weapons exist. The fact that there are only 2 NATO rifles in Barter is almost a crime. SMGs also have unfinished lines, particularly for the P90 and MP5. While it's hard to imagine a proper extension for the P90, I'd definitely like to see an MP7 there. But Expo put it into summer cases instead. Maybe we could at least get AB and TAPC9. Shotguns are the most untouched part of Barter. I'm not really into shotguns. But over a year ago, Zubzalina said the shotgun Barter tree would be reworked. Since then, they only updated some models and animations for older shotguns, which is cool. But not the rework we were promised. Meanwhile, we got 3 new master shotguns. The Jackhammer from the Season Pass, the Daria from the Summer Crate, and a new Master Saiga from this season's crate. Why is Expo focusing on advanced gear mechanics while leaving the most basic Barter tree unfinished? No clue. Sniper rifles, in my opinion, are one of the most complete categories. You have a variety of playstyles, even within bolt-action rifles. Maybe the EBR is still underperforming despite a year of buffs and could use another review, but overall, this section is solid. Backpacks and containers got a huge update, which I didn't expect. We received 3 new backpack lines and 2 new container lines, plus SMC was added to Barter. I had actually bought 6 SMCs as a gamble before the update, so it was a surprise to see them there, but I didn't lose much value. Balance between them is hard to judge since the meta isn't clear yet, but nothing seems broken or underpowered. I expect small adjustments, but overall, it's a solid addition. Attachments, on the other hand, haven't received enough attention. Their concepts are unclear, and there are obvious problems, like serum attachments. Why do they even exist? Expo once said attachments shouldn't cost serum, but then they released serum-based ones for the Ash and kept the drum mag for the EBR requiring serum. There are other issues too. We still don't have unified comfort mags for XM8 and HK rifles. Meanwhile, AK-15 and Mutant get excellent 30-round fast mag in Barter that are cheaper and better than the 25-rounders for the Val and NATO 7.62 or the 30-rounders for 5.56 and 5.45 rifles. The damage difference between 7.62 and 9x39 isn't that big, so why should those mags be weaker? And 5.56 and 5.45 mags feel even worse. Less bullet damage, lower mag damage overall. So almost nobody uses them. What I'd like to see is standardized size of mags for all 7.62 guns, including the AK-15, and 40 or 45 round comfort mags for 5.56 and 5.45 rifles, all available in Barter. Not in cases, not as event rewards, but in Barter, cheap and accessible for new players. I also don't understand why Expo insists on scope progression. It doesn't make sense. Players choose scopes based on magnification, reticle style, and overall feel on a specific gun, not based on rank. Why should scopes differ by master level? For example, I like the panorama scope on my HK 417, but I won't use it because it doesn't give stability like master rank scopes. On the other hand, I don't like the pointer on the master ACOG, so I end up swapping scopes back and forth, and it's frustrating. Scopes are essentially quality of life items. They should be cheap and always available. Night vision goggles got a great rework. They're actually useful now, and you can even choose between colors. Progression is smooth too. South nights are light enough that you don't really need NVGS, while North nights are dark enough to require them. That feels like a thoughtful design choice that improves comfort for new players. Built-in NVGS on suits were terrible. You could craft something like the Beast Slayer and be left helpless at night. This update was definitely a big improvement. Thanks to Plastinka for that. Oh wait, I forgot about machine guns. Machine guns are basically forgotten. The only option in Barter is the Soviet PKP. I honestly forgot this category even existed. That's a huge gap. And I don't recall any announcements about work being done here. Final thoughts. We actually have a wide variety of weapons in the game, and almost all of them are playable and fairly balanced. But Barter is clearly unfinished. Some weapons that should be there are locked away in cases or elsewhere, which is not how progression should work. Now let's jump to interface. Last year we got a huge number of good interface updates that improved the user experience and made life easier. The main things I would point out are new hotkeys for transferring categories, the ability to buy back sold artifacts and items, the option to charge an entire container at once, and slotless usage of scanners. But there are still two major problems: the auction interface and system and the subdivision interface and system. If someone has managed a clan or held a major clan position, they know it's painful to check any information about clan members. There's no functionality to post in-game clan news messages that everyone will see. So you can't share important things with members inside the game, like a message of the day or clan rules. Instead, you're forced to rely on Discord. There are also management problems. You can't set treasury limits for specific ranks, so you're basically forced to promote everyone to officer, which is unsafe in terms of clan war registration. It's also hard to check when someone was last online or who is currently online. You have to open the clan interface, click a player, check their stats, close it. Repeat for the next person, looping through 30 people. What a nightmare for anyone trying to manage a clan. The auction is not only hard to use but also restricted by high commission fees. The most expensive artifacts and items aren't sold there regularly because of this. If you sell an item worth 100 million, you still pay the default 5% commission, losing 5 million. That pushes players to sell on Discord instead, which drains items from the auction system. Another issue is pulps. Pulps are a time-limited resource you can't sell if they expire in less than 12 hours. This again pushes players to Discord. A simple solution would be to add additional auction slot times, like 3 hours or 6 hours, so players farming during the day, instead of at night, could sell pulps on auction. Such an easy change would massively improve things for pulp farmers and crafters. But no, we're stuck with Discord trade threads. And about commission, they could set a maximum commission, like 500k, for very expensive items. That way, more high-value items would be sold through the auction, and the game would still pull money from the economy, just like before. There'd be no impact on smaller items already being sold. What about clans and clan wars? Let's start with the good news. We are excited and waiting for the global clan update, which will bring a whole new system to clan wars. There will be divisions, some interesting cosmetic rewards for the best clans, and much more engaging fights for players. You will be playing every clan war, with almost no AFK stages or matchups where your opponents are either far stronger or far weaker than you, at least once subdivisions stabilize on the ladder. At least Expo says it will work that way. So, pretty good news for everyone who actively plays clan wars and enjoys this part of competition. I think we shouldn't expect the release to be perfect. As time has shown, the developers rarely do everything flawlessly, so some minor errors and fixes should be expected. We already spoke about interface problems for subdivisions. But there are also in-game issues that I don't really like. For example, diplomacy between clans for brawls could be represented in the interface, so leaders wouldn't need to discuss everything in Discord. Maybe they could bid prices for help, retire from a stage to let another clan take over, or accept or declare truces where the points are clearly assigned. That way, you wouldn't have to avoid scoring points while helping another clan. This would be a huge improvement for brawls. Though I don't know if they'll exist after the new clan update. Another issue Expo is trying to fix is unfair player replacement through account sharing, or not. Don't get me wrong. Life for new clans is already tough. If they don't have level 3, they're capped at 30 players instead of 35. If they're not even level 2, they're still capped at 30 total. But only 25 can participate in clan wars. That sounds like a joke to me. They lack experience, they're limited by ranks. Their treasury spending is restricted, which blocks them from using barricades and sniper ammo effectively, and on top of that, the game limits their player count. How are they supposed to level up if they can't afford to buy stages? That's insane. And about treasury, I don't know any players who loot and carry new particles for the clan treasury while farming. They weigh too much and give such a small amount of money that they're basically useless. It's much easier to just buy some chronos at auction and drop them into the treasury if you don't have money. Or at least deliver some clan packs. New particles make no sense. Then there are clan crates. I've played in clans for almost 3 years, and I still don't have a P320, AM17. Or sledgehammer, which is another thing that significantly impacts win rate and a clan's ability to destroy barricades and enemy tents. Why are the chances so low and so random? I don't have an answer. Usually, when I open these crates, I expect only paint or at best a breakfast of champion. And honestly, I'm happy if I even get that. So I hope they release the new interface and fix these problems along with the division system. Hideout. Hideout is something the devs have basically forgotten. Thanks to Plastinka, we recently got the Snow Maiden statue, and that's all that happened to the unfinished hideout system. Some branches are useless, like plates and ammo. Others are too expensive to complete on your own. Many pulps you need have to be bought on Discord to craft most things. Some hideout items are overpriced or just too hard to get. There's also no gameplay functionality, like letting other players spawn or stay in your hideout. So there's no real reason to share it with friends. Furniture is highly limited too. Just a couple of items like chairs, cupboards, and one type of sofa. All of this is under the excuse that hideout levels will be wiped at some point when the rework is released. And that crafted boosts might be nerfed when the boost rework merges strong and weak boosts into a single system to make things simpler. But so much time has passed since those words about a wipe that I'm not sure if they even stand by it anymore. Mostly, we're just waiting for news. Dark and I said he's writing an article about the hideout and hopes to finish it by the end of September, so we'll see. Another small mechanic I want to talk about is stashes. They're useful only when you need to farm a huge amount of barter resources. And maybe that's fine. But I never really liked the stash system while playing. It caused more problems than benefits. It would be great to see the old mechanic of storing items in crates in the open world like we had before. That way, you could find other players' loot they were trying to hide or hide your own. It felt like a natural part of gameplay to me, much nicer than these magic stashes that can't be found and are abused for storing valuable loot players don't want to risk fighting over. Now let's jump to the latest information about dungeons. That stream was a huge thing where they shared a lot of interesting information about the game, new changes, content updates, and clarifications about dungeons and the open test server. We got an open test server for the first dungeon, which they recently finished. They released the OTS to gather stats and feedback from players about how fun the dungeon actually is. I played with my friends and cleared almost all the tasks. Overall, I liked how they implemented healing and damage classes. Maybe the only issue was that healing was based on stopping power instead of damage. It didn't feel natural. You could figure it out if you carefully check the healing stats or reread the class description a few times, but it led to some players using the wrong weapons. On the other hand, the tank class felt off. The passives were fine, but the active ability was kind of a joke. Instead of protecting teammates, drawing extra aggro, or making you tankier, it just dealt damage based on how much damage you had taken over time. I don't really understand why tanks got that exact active. It sounded more like another DPS skill. I liked the start, but I didn't like the scaling of NPC damage and health. I think they should add more depth. Maybe introduce special NPCs or extra abilities on higher difficulties. That would make it more engaging. Like mythic keys in World of Warcraft. Simply scaling NPC damage and health feels lazy. We also had some server issues, but since it was the OTS and we were playing from Europe, I'll let that slide. Also, Veriford said they are working on a roguelike mechanic for dungeons that will make them more diverse and interesting long term. But first, they need to polish the basic implementation and release the second dungeon. Eventually, dungeons will be built from different pieces. Locations will change each time you enter the elevator. Ziv also mentioned that it's impossible to fully polish and balance dungeons before release on live servers, so we should expect balance changes afterward. As Ziv said on stream, we'll only get dungeons after they finish polishing the current one with the Lemansk theme, release the module system, and complete the second dungeon. So honestly, it could take an eternity. The first time I heard about dungeons was when I started playing, back when Stalcraft launched on Steam. Other things which were shared with us on Ziv's stream were news about New North. Ziv said that reworked North locations will be more like Blackwater in terms of world positioning. It will be like part of the world with survival extraction gameplay and named as Wild North. They will be attached to each other. So there will be ability to pass from Blackwater to Yano and Red Forest. As extraction mechanic, you will have space bulbs like right now on Blackwater. But there will not be events like Murmur bases to extract after clearing these spots. Only bulbs. Sounds much better than before for me, when we knew only words. It will be the locations for clans and parties to loot. Also, as revival of old mechanic, there will be resurrected artifact installations. It's another kind of installation which you should protect from waves of mutants and players to craft an artifact. And all of the craftable artifacts will be new specially created artifacts, and they didn't say which tier it will be. Will they be higher tier or lower than we could find in open world? And on top of that, North, which we will have right now, will be more active fight and factions contest based, and New Wild North will be more like survival extraction, part of gameplay. Which is extremely great and interesting idea in my mind. I'm already excited, and the only sad thing for me is how much we should wait for the update. As we know, locations are mostly done, but they need to fill them with events, finish new artifact installation mechanic, and a little bit rework extraction mechanic from Blackwater. And last thing from me on that topic is that I don't really see a reason for placing tunnel from Drunken Geiger Bar to New Wild North. Would be nicer to see tunnels on North home locations. But we will see how it will work. Maybe there is some real reason to do it like they want. Last topic which I want to speak about is session battles. We got couple of really great updates. New session battles modes, like deathmatch on presets and arms race. There is regular work on them and they are improving in quality and in diversity. You can even play knife deathmatch on Inferno. Pure joy and fun. We also got interface update, which looks great but doesn't really work and contains one annoying bug with session battle selection. While you are scrolling list of session battles, you can click on button to refresh. But refresh button is not on the highest layer, and your click is registered by join session battle button. which is annoying. But the thing is, a lot of players like to play session battles on their own gear. And I wanted to see a deathmatch on your own gear. To test my builds in more intense PvP, which is not affected by how good is your team. I just want everybody against everybody deathmatch, maybe on cutted old map like Colosseum. Okay. That was some fantasies about Desired. Let's move to real situation with session battles on players' gear. If you would like to play sessions right now, you will most likely play Moria's house, and maybe if the Ziv bless you, you will find some Hospital or Inferno to play. Old good maps as Collapse and Colosseum where you are playing 20 by 20 are rarely started, mostly because Sama or S-tier clans want to throw a boot camp. So you will be able to play maybe 3 to 4 times a week on them. And that's the saddest thing which happened to session battles. Moria House is good map for some builds and playstyle. It is one of the best maps for close quarters PvP, but there is no space for even mid-range weapons. Distance is simply too small. There is no space to play with this kind of guns. Even worse about sniper rifles, they are totally useless. Players are farming session battles points, and Moria House is the fastest map to farm them, and when you need to grind 300 hours, you will try to maximize the effect of your time. That's the real problem. Almost nobody plays them to improve skill or test gear, or simply for fun. Players are playing Moria House to grind, and there are no other maps to play. And this problem is on you, where we have more players than on NA and C. It's hard to imagine how bad situation is on these servers. So that's a real problem right now when you are trying to test new gun or build. It's too hard to test it properly on Moria. As end words, I want to thank everybody who watched, especially you, who watched until this moment. In my mind, that's pure heroism to stand up against this robo voice and try to listen and understand everything which I wanted to discuss. Maybe video has too much negative words and critic. But I was discussing the most exciting topics, and these are usually the problems. Let's not forget about a lot of small positive changes like sound, animations, interface, open world changes, which maybe are not changing a lot as one update, but they are accumulating and give us a lot of reasons to play this game. Thanks for your attention. You are surely welcome to comment.